Prabowo Megawati, a secret deal, and yes, even Nasi Goreng. Many people think they've been on opposite sides of Indonesian politics, but behind the scenes, they've shared moments, traded favors, and even signed a secret political deal that was supposed to decide the future of the presidency. And now, as Prabowo begins his first year as president, Megawati's support could shape everything from how he governs to what happens in 2029. Let's break it down. Megawati Soekarnoputri, former president, leader of PDIP, the biggest party in Indonesia, daughter of the country's founding father, Sukarno. Prabowo Subianto, former general, current president, ex-son-in-law of Suharto, and comes from a long line of elites, now heads the Gerindra party, and they both come from some of the most powerful political families in Indonesia. Now let's rewind to 1998. Suharto is gone. Prabowo is discharged from the military for insubordination. He leaves for Jordan in sort of exile, and for a while, he's literally stateless. No passport, no country to recognize him. But then, Vice President Megawati and her husband, Taufik Kimas, step in. Taufik helps Prabowo overseas, and Megawati helps smooth things out politically back home, and together, they support his return. And this was huge. At the time, most of Indonesia's political elite wanted nothing to do with Prabowo. His name was stained by controversy, but Megawati gave him something no one else would: a path back into politics. She helped clear the way for his return, and he was now back in the game, and he never forgot it. Before that comeback could happen, Prabowo needed a political vehicle, and in 2004, he ran for the Golkar chairmanship. That's Suharto's old party, but it didn't work. He lost. So he built his own party instead, Gerindra. Fast forward to 2009, Megawati's running for president again, and Prabowo joins as her VP candidate. But there's a catch. They make a formal deal, the Batu Tulis agreement. This was more than a handshake. It was a written agreement between PDIP and Gerindra. The idea? Run together in the 2009 election, and no matter what happens, win or lose, Megawati and PDIP will support Prabowo as a presidential candidate in 2014. They went on and lost the 2009 election. But the relationship stays strong, and in 2012, Prabowo spots a rising talent in Java, Joko Widodo. Prabowo thinks Jokowi has real potential, so he pushes Megawati to back him for Jakarta governor, and she finally does. Jokowi wins, and that changes everything. It's now 2014, and this is supposed to be the payoff. Remember the Batu Tulis agreement? The deal where PDIP said, Prabowo run on our ticket as VP in 2009, and in 2014, we'll back you as president. But when the time comes, Megawati backs someone else instead of Prabowo. She backs Joko Widodo. Waduh, this is the rising star, the guy that Prabowo himself brought to Megawati just 2 years earlier. And just like that, the Batu Tulis pact is broken. Prabowo runs anyway in 2014 and loses to Jokowi. The breaking of the Batu Tulis agreement seriously damages the Megawati-Prabowo relationship. It creates a real rift between their parties, but they still don't become bitter opponents. No personal attacks, just distance and mostly silence. But behind the scenes, something else kept them close. Their parties, PDIP and Gerindra, kept working together in parliament on key bills. So while the top leaders weren't on good terms, their lawmakers were cooperating in DPR until 2019. And that's when Prabowo loses again to Jokowi. But this time, he doesn't try and lead in opposition. Instead, he reconnects with Megawati. They have a private meeting at her house. She cooks him fried rice, Megawati's classic move. Nasi Goreng diplomacy, it's called. And suddenly, the political ice starts to melt. Not long after, Prabowo joins Jokowi's cabinet as defense minister. And let's be frank, that doesn't happen without Megawati's approval. She still controls PDIP, which backed Jokowi. This moment is key. It shows that even after political setbacks, Megawati and Prabowo could still work together when the political math made sense. And then comes 2024. Prabowo runs for president again. A PDIP-Gerindra coalition fails to materialize. PDIP backs Ganja, not Prabowo. But this time, Prabowo wins. Now, here's where it gets tricky for the Prabowo-Megawati relationship again. Prabowo chooses Gibran, Jokowi's son, as his running mate. And Megawati, she and PDIP aren't happy. Not just because of Gibran, but because she feels Jokowi used her party to create his own power base. Still, she doesn't blame Prabowo as much. Their personal relationship holds. Prabowo wants to meet her after the election. He needs her support. PDIP still holds the most seats in parliament, but in classic Megawati style, she waits and waits. It's not until April 2025, months after the election, that they finally meet. No Nasi Goreng yet, but a good first step to bringing them closer. And even before the meeting, PDIP had been clearly supporting Prabowo's government in parliament. And just because they're not in the cabinet doesn't mean that PDIP is out of power. There are two key names here, Budi Gunawan and Sri Mulyani. Budi is Megawati's longtime ally and former head of Indonesia's intelligence agency. He's now a coordinating minister. Sri Mulyani is back as finance minister. She's not a PDIP member, but she's known to have relations with Megawati. Their presence signals that while PDIP may not officially be inside of the cabinet, their influence is there. Now, let's talk about who keeps the relationship running. Puan Maharani, Megawati's daughter, Speaker of the House. She's the main link between PDIP and Prabowo. She's not always front and center, but she matters. And Budi Gunawan, he's the quiet operator, managing relationships and keeping things stable. So, where are we now? Prabowo and Megawati aren't just allies or rivals. They're two power brokers who know how the game is played. And if Prabowo wants to push back against Jokowi's influence or shape what happens in 2029, he needs Megawati and her party. And Megawati, she's not just watching from the sidelines. In 2025, PDIP will choose its leader for the next 5 years. And yeah, Megawati's expected to stay on, but she's 77. And the big question isn't who's going to lead again, but who comes after her. Staying close to Prabowo helps Megawati maintain relevance, protect her legacy, family, and have a say in where power flows next. So yeah, there have been rifts, betrayals, comebacks, but through it all, one thing stays true. When Megawati and Prabowo talk, Indonesian politics shift. And right now, they're talking more and more. And we may even see Megawati start cooking Nasi Goreng soon.
Siapa? Ayo, Presiden bolak-balik nanya, kapan aku dibikinin nasi goreng mbak ya? Ayo, Presiden sopo yuk? Sana aja dah. Itu seneng banget loh. Nanti tak, siapa mau nasi goreng Ibu Mega?